Okay, just let me know you guys are there. I don't know what happened to the initial streaming just went off. I don't know why. Okay, I'm coming. I don't know what happened on, but it seemed like Facebook cuts went off, and I was actually talking. I didn't even realize we were not live. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the old video and see the question. So if you don't mind putting your question again, I know I'm asking the question on the question about epigastric hernia. I don't know how much you heard before we were cut off, but I think I'll just go back again and summarize the question. But not to worry, I think I will have the questions. The old video is still online, so I should be able to see that one. Um, okay, yeah, I have the questions. Okay, so no, I don't know why it's not coming. I don't want to say the comments only. Um, okay. All right. So I was talking about if a child has anemia, most of the time it's not because of what you did or didn't do. It's just something that can happen, and it's not something you can prevent. It's just something that happened in some people, and what you need to do is just if it is really big, you just go and see the surgeons, and they can repair it. It's not a fault of anything. I don't know whether you get that information clearly. Okay. So that is about epigastric hernia. There's nothing you can do about avoidance. There's nothing you can do about that. It's not something you can prevent. You will never know who is going to have hernia or not. If it is happening a lot in your children, I don't know whether there are, unless it's happening in the context of another medical condition in the family. So if it is happening in the context of other medical condition, in other words, the hernia is part of another diagnosis, then that will explain that. But otherwise, hernia on its own is not something that tends to happen recurrently, and it's not something causing it per se. So, but we know there are some genetic conditions where anemia could be one of the features. In such instances, then what we need to do is to know the genetic condition itself and then deal with it. So, but if we don't know, it's a little bit tricky. And so I think that's just the point I'm trying to make in that scenario. Okay, so it's not something you can prevent. We don't have any preventive measures for anemia. All right, there was a question by Samuel before we wind up. She said, good evening, my baby is 10 months old. She has not tried to hold or grab something to stand, still struggling to crawl. So 10 months old baby, we're not expecting them to stand. Standing is about 11 to 12 months old. So I'm not worried about a 10-month-old baby who is not yet standing. But the question is, the 10-month-old baby, is there because you said child is also struggling to crawl. The issue is that crawling itself is not a very good developmental milestone, because we know some babies don't crawl at all. So because some babies don't crawl at all, it's difficult to use crawling to decide whether there's a problem or not for a child. So if crawling is it's not there, we'll not worry. But I think I'll be more interested in whether your 10 months old is able to sit by themselves, sit independently, or are there other issues with the child development that you're worried about? If there are, then that is when you really want to seek medical help. But if it's just the crawling and the standing, I'll just say give the child a little bit more time, and then we can watch that. Okay, then Nina asks a question. What can I give to a 2-year-old who is purging? He doesn't like ORS. Okay, a 2-year-old who does not like ORS, because if a child is having diarrhea, they have to be rehydrated. But you can give the child ORS, but if the child doesn't like ORS, you can give other homemade fluids. You can give even the normal water. You can also give things like coconut water. It's also a very good fluid. You can also cook rice and let the water on top of that rice. You can remove the water and give the child to drink after it has cooled. So those are like homemade fluids that you can use to rehydrate the child. But if the child is vomiting, the child is not taking any water, not taking ORS, not taking any of those homemade fluids, so you can also give Sprite. Sometimes we give Sprite. It's just like it's a little bit gassy, but it's also a good rehydrating fluid. You may have to take the child to the hospital, because in that instance we may have to put in a IV line for the child to rehydrate the child. So that's what we may have to do in such instances. So I hope that is helpful. I'm not sure whether those people are still online, but I just want to make sure I answer the questions. So even if I thought they watch the video later on, they can always get the answer to the question. Instagram, if you have any question, feel free to ask your question. Also just going to try and pin the video back again, because I think people may have lost the first one. Okay, let me pin it now. All right. So if I might ask you, your 2-year-old has a boy-like bump on 4 different places on his head. We need to see that. It's important to see what is a bump. Is he a bony thing? Is it something bony, or is it something soft? Because it's very important to know. Sometimes some children just have, it is just a normal skull, it is just a normal bone, or that is just a little bit prominent. So of course there's nothing we're going to do with that, but we need to be sure. If it is soft, then you want to worry, is the child having like some reaction, or the child having even infection like boil. But those one will be soft to touch and all that. And how long have they been there? Are they something new, or is it something that's been there for a long time as well? So there are more things that we need to check, in that instance. So I would just recommend that you see a doctor who can have a quick look for you, and then they can advise you, further about the bumps and the cost of the bumps. Okay, and then I see here, thank you. I'm happy that you got the answer to your question. All right. Were you the one asking about the ORS? I can't remember now. I've forgotten. Okay, so just give any other fluid, any other drink, as long as it's not um, something that is too concentrated, that what we call high osmolar load, that will make the child to punch more. But if it's just the normal water the child wants to drink, and you want to give other weak fluid, as long as the child is getting rehydrated, the child will be fine. But if the child is still not rehydrating, then that's when we need to see us in the hospital. Okay, Princess is saying my 17-month-old copies literally everything a 2-year-old sister does. That is the age for doing that, and that is perfectly normal for that age, for children's age to copy things. So that's how they learn. So there's nothing you can do. But you have a 17 months and a 2-year-old. How come? That's a 5-month-old gap, or the 2-year-old is closer to a 3-year-old. Anyway, that's just a pediatrician curiosity, because we wanted to space them and let there be at least 2 years gap in between them, but it's fine. All right. So it's okay for them to copy each other. There's nothing you can do about that. But surely by the time they get to above the age of 2, closer to 3, they stop copying, and then they can do things on their own. Okay, Miss something from Instagram. Mrs. Wigo said, "What is developmental milestone expected for a 4-month-old?" Okay, good question. The most important thing for a 4-month-old. So when we talk about developmental milestones, there are different developmental domains. Okay, we actually try to keep it simple for parents. I always say about 5 of them. It can be up to like 7 actually, if you want to break it down as well. So we have what we call the motor, sitting, all those kind of things. Those are what we call motor skills. And even the motor skill, we have what we call gross motor skill that has to do with the legs, and you also have what we call the fine motor skill that has to do with the hands mostly. Then you have this language of sounds, kind of speech kind of milestones. Then you also have what we call the personal social skills, interaction with other people. And then even the eyes, ability to see, even the hearing, they are actually milestones on their own. So for a 4-month-old, if you look at the motor skills, we expect a 4-month-old to have neck control. That is the most important milestone for a 4-month-old. They should, by 3 months old, they should have neck control. So we expect that from a 4-month-old. We expect a 4-month-old to start making sounds, to be what we call cooing. They just make sounds, like vowel sounds. They coo a lot. They can smile. They can laugh. Those kind of sounds. It's as if you're talking to them, as if they are talking back to you. But of course, there are no words. So we expect that from 4-month-old. We expect a 4-month-old to be able to see. Actually, they should be able to look at you and follow you. So if you put on something colorful like red or something like that, they will look at it and then they will follow. If you move around, they follow you with their eyes. That's what we call fixing and following. So we expect a 4-month-old to do that. We expect that. So I've talked about the motor skill. Neck control is the major motor skill. We expect them in terms of the language, we're making sounds, cooing sounds. We expect them to follow with their eyes. We expect them to react to sounds, that's hearing. Or we expect them to smile and recognize their mother, smile at you. When you smile to them, they should smile back at you. So those are the kind of milestones we expect for 4-month-old. I hope I've covered most of them. So we have an article on Is My Child's Development on Course. If you go to our website, www.askthepediatricians.com, if you go to our group, our Facebook group, we have all these milestones already documented there, and we've written there what are those things that will make a pediatrician to worry. So I think for a pediatrician, the most important thing is that your child has neck control as 4-month-old. If a 4-month-old doesn't have neck control, we want you to come and see us. So if a 4-month-old is not looking at you or fixing, you should come and see us. If a 4-month-old is not responding to sound, like you make a loud noise or bang and the child just sit there as if nothing has happened, you should come and see us. If they're not smiling, they're not making any sounds, you need to come and see us. So that's when we want you to come over. I hope that's helpful. All right. I think we've answered Princess' question. We've answered that. Good evening, Maurice Matthew. Good evening. If it looks like a boy, then just see the doctor so that they can, if it's a boy, they will prescribe appropriate antibiotics for the child. Okay. I brought back my charger. All right. The next question, Ifama, is like, how do we correct a 2-year-old who is doing something not acceptable? What is the something what is the something that is not acceptable? Okay, because that's more important anyway. But whatever you do, don't spank, don't beat. It's always amazing to me how many parents talk about beating their 1-year-old, their 2-year-old. Please don't beat children at that age. It's very important. I think we've done some of these parenting courses or classes before. We may have to teach it again. We need to understand what we call developmental stages of children. Every child is not the same. Your 1-year-old is not a teenager. Okay, what the 1-year-old understand is different from what a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, 5, 6. So children develop at different stages. Most of the 1-year-old, they only can say one word and they can only understand one word. So sometimes you see parents screaming and talking loads of sentences to a 1-2-year-old. Like a mother was telling me, "Oh, I've talked to her about it." There's nothing you are talking to a 2-year-old about. That 2-year-old does not understand half of what you said. They don't even understand it. So there's nothing like, "Oh, I'm telling you, don't do this, do that." They understand single words, 2-word phrases. So they understand no, stop, that kind of a thing. But they don't understand when we are talking to them and telling them, if you do this, it's going to cause it. They don't yet understand a lot of cause and consequences. So if you beat a child, the child does not understand that you're beating them because of what they did is wrong and they should stop it. They just understand you're actually just teaching them that it's okay to eat people. Okay, that's why some of those children will go to nursery and they start to eat other children and they start to beat other children. For 1 to 2 year old, if they are doing something you don't want them to do, you remove them from that situation. That is what you need to do. You remove them physically from that situation. So let's say they are trying to touch or touch something that they shouldn't be touching, or just take them away from that situation, because that is what they understand. Then you give them what we call an alternative. So we do a lot of distraction, a lot of remover, and a lot of alternatives. So give them what you want them to. If you want the child to play, if the child is playing with something you don't want the child to play, give the child something safe that the child can play with. That is the right thing to do, not to eat the child or beat the child. They don't understand that at the age of 2. So they are the age where the way they understand things is how they feel it, how they put. That's why everything goes in their mouth. They put things in. They are what we call at the sensory motor stage. Everything is what they feel, what they say. And when you remove something, that is the end of it. It has gone. They don't yet understand what we call the concept of permanence. That something is still there. It's gone. It's out of sight. It's out of mind. So that is why taking them away from that situation, giving them something else different or something more positive that you want them to do is a better way to do it. You can use time out for them as well, like, okay, and usually it's 1 minute per age. So if you're 1 year old, that's just 1 minute, give them break, take them to a corner to sit on the staircase or something, and let them just have a break, and then it's not forever, so you're not supposed to leave them for 1 hour alone on their own. So those are the so it's maybe nice for us to read or go through some of those parenting courses and understand the developmental age of a child. By the age of 3 to above, they begin to understand consequences. So that is when you now start using or more of those consequence. And we prefer discipline in terms of consequence, not hurting children because you want to discipline them. So if you do this something positive, we're going to get you this reward. You get a star on the mark. When you get 10 stars, you're going to have maybe 30 minutes on the TV or something like that. And if you don't do it, then you're going to lose the time on your favorite cartoon or your favorite toy or something like that. That is what really works at that age. Then by the time they're about 6, they begin to have what we call the abstract concepts. Actually, that is when talking and explaining things and all that begin to work for them, really. So we need to understand that so that we can do what is appropriate in terms of discipline, in terms of how we handle our children. But more importantly, please let's not beat children, especially the infants, the 2-year-old. You can harm them very easily. Okay, you can cause damage to their brain. Parents, especially when you're angry, sometimes those are very small individuals. Sometimes people, they eat children and they don't know they are causing them harm. You shake children, you can cause bleeding in their brain and all those kind of stuff. So please, let's be mindful, how we be very cognitive of the age of the child, how you relate with them. Okay. I'm not a parenting expert, but as pediatrician, we also have to do a little bit of talking to our children. Talking to parents, so we have some idea. But it would be nice to read a lot around parenting courses, and some people offer it as well. Okay, and then I also asked about 7-year-old that is growing baby fat breast. Okay, I already answered that question. But your 7-year-old weighing 36 kilo is obese, is fat. That's why the breast is there, okay? Because a 7-year-old should be weighing like 24, maybe 22, 24 kilos. So if a 7-year-old is weighing 36, that is a lot. That's over 10 kilos overweight. So this child really needs to see a pediatrician. That child's weight is over the charts. We need to see the child. We need to even be sure there's no medical reason why the child is overweight. So the first thing you need to start is to cut off all the junk food, no snacks, no all these pastry snacks, biscuits. We need to take it off. The child should eat lots of vegetables, drink a lot of water. They should be active. In those days, I was talking with my kids the other day. When we were younger, we do a lot. I just realized that we do a lot of physical stuff because the TV doesn't come on until 4 o'clock, and children program is just between 4 and 6. Even if you don't have children program, the TV is going to go off by 10, 11 max. So we don't do a lot of screen time in front of us. So most of us, if you remember, you go out, you do all these sway, all those games that involve you doing physical activities. You go and climb one tree or do one. But I think the generation of our own children now, they have a lot of options. They can have the TV on for 24 hours if they want. They have options to choose their own program, their cartoon, and all that. So they do, and then most of them are always indoors on those things. So that, I think, is one of the reasons why we're having a lot of these difficulties with children. So we need to be very intentional about encouraging them to do more of the physical activities. So let them go outside, let them play football, enroll them in physical stuff, anything that involves physical, karate, anything football, anything that requires the child going out and playing physically rather than staying in front of a screen or laptop, or it will be helpful. And I know most of even the school, they like to give a lot of homework that require children stay in front of their computers and all that. We should really discourage more of that. We should encourage the children to do more physical stuff. But for some children, it may not just be that, they may actually have a medical reason for that weight. So we need to check, especially now that you're also saying child is having one like breast. We need to be sure there's no endocrine, because there are medical conditions that can make a child to be overweight. It's not just because it may not be food, it may not because they are eating junk, it may just be a medical condition. So I don't know whether you've seen any one of us, but I really strongly recommend that child should see a pediatric endocrinologist immediately. So we can do all the blood tests, do all the hormone profile, and then we will know whether there's something else or not. If it's not anything endocrine, nothing medical, then we can now work on the exercise and the diet and all that. The dietitian can also give us some ideas as well. Okay, is there any milestone for 1 month old? Every child has milestone. There's what we expect for every age. But usually we don't want to bug you as parents with every tiny milestones. So for parents, we just want you to remember the big ones. So that is why we talk about the neck control at 3 months, sitting with support at 5 to 6 months. Then we talk about crawling, sitting without support 7 to 8 months, crawling at 9, 10 months, walking at 1 year, and then talking age 1 year. By 1 year, 1 to 3 words. 2 years, they begin to do phrases. 3 years, they should be talking sentences. 4 years, they should be talking like adults, and so on and so forth. Fine motor, we talk about them using their hands together, clapping by 3 to 4 months. So there are big ones that we like parents to remember, because you can't remember everything. In fact, even for us as pediatricians, we have to go and check all those small stuff. So it's a little bit tricky for you at a 1 month old to really pick up. But I think for a 1 month old, at least you want them to be able to respond to sound. So if somebody closes the door, a 1 month old should respond to the sound. They should show you that they are hearing, and they should be able to see you as well. But usually the first milestones most parents pick up is at 6 to 8 weeks, when they begin to have what we call social smile. Now, social smile is not the smiling they do when they're sleeping, because a lot of parents say, oh, my baby is smiling from birth. That is not social smile. Social smile is when the child looks at you as a mother, recognizes you, you smile with the baby, and the baby smile back at you. That is what we call social smile, and it is 6 to 8 weeks. Then fixing and following as well, like when they recognize your face, if you move your head to one side or you move something colorful, then they also move around and look at what you are that particular item. We call it fixing and following with the eyes. Again, 6 to 8 weeks. So before then, there's really little or nothing much you will get. There are milestones, but they are a little bit tiny details for your level as a parent. So we don't want to bog you down with that. Okay. All right, let's move on. Okay, Instagram, no question yet. Let's move on to Facebook. Inden said 21 months old baby is very aggressive and hot tempered. Number one, I will never use the word aggressive for a 21 month old. Okay, or hot tempered. When you use those kind of terminologies, it's rooted in a lot of assumptions. So it's rooted in the sense as if that is something that child is able to do deliberately. I think you use that for adults really or older children, but definitely not for a 21-month-old. Okay, so the question is, what is making this child to show this behavior? Okay, so we talk about tantrums, we talk about meltdowns. Those are the kind of terminologies we use in this age group. Usually 2-year-old, they tend to have what we call the terrible twos, because that's the age when they're developing what we call, they begin to recognize that they are independent human beings. They are not an extension of you as their mother. So they begin to develop their own sense of self. Like, I am a separate person. I can walk, I can talk, I can do things. So, and then they want to show that they know what they're doing. And so sometimes you're trying to tell them to do this, they don't want to do it. They want to do it their own way, So that's why you tend to have a lot of this kind of, they have a lot of will. That sense of will, is beginning to develop at the age of 2. So that's when you tend to have a lot of those kind of behavior, tantrums, and they don't want to get their way, and then they're going to fight it out and all that. So, which, like, related to what I said earlier, having that understanding is better. There's no point arguing with a 2-year-old. There's no point explaining things to them they don't understand, and they're not going to even listen to you. So, like I said, again, for them, distraction, alternatives. If they're doing something, you want them to. So most of us we do a lot of don't do that to children. Actually, that is wrong. What you should be doing is do this. It's better to tell children what you want them to do than to tell them not to do something. So try and work that out. Like, instead of telling child, don't go there, don't. What do you want the child to do? Where do you want the child to go? Or what do you want the child to play with? It's better to say, okay, play with this. It's better than to try to stop the child from doing, the other things that you don't want them to do. So give them what you want them to do. Tell them what you want them to do. Give them the toys you want them to play with. And if it is a situation where they are going to put themselves in danger or of themselves, you remove them from that situation. That is what you usually do with this 2-year-old. Now, sometimes some children have neurodevelopmental disorders. So children, for example, on the autism spectrum, they may be different again. It's not like just the normal 2-year-old, being terrible to. Sometimes there are medical reasons. So there are what we call developmental disabilities. So some children, for example, what you say, this child eating his head on the wall, if it's something he does repetitively, it could actually be a behavior thing for that child, and it could be part of autism spectrum. But that would be repetitive, and most of the time the child can even do it when they are not hungry. They can just do it randomly. So you see some children always doing their head banging, and they can even be laughing when doing it. So they are not doing it out of anger, they are just doing it as a repetitive behavior, which could be one of the first feature of autism spectrum, especially if it's also occurring in the context of a child who is not giving eye contact, who does not want to play with siblings, who is not, who also have some sensory seeking kind of behavior. So if you have other traits, other markers as well, then yes, those are the kind of child you want to bring to see a pediatrician, for formal assessment. But sometimes it is just 2-year-old being 2-year-old, and it's a phase as well, which sometimes they will outgrow. So if you are not quite sure, I know sometimes, as parents you also have experience, but if you are not quite sure, it's okay to come to see us, see the pediatrician, and we can do a little bit of assessment, ask you some questions, and we can decide, okay, this is just a normal tantrum, or this is a child who actually has a developmental disorder, or that is about to happen. So that is what we try to do. I don't know whether I've been able to help you with that. So some children, if they bang their head and all that. For example, most children, when they bang their head and it is painful for them, then they stop. But usually for children who may have a developmental disorder, they will keep on doing it. Even you just wonder why are they doing that. So that is a little bit of knowing the difference at times. So I hope that's helpful. Um, let's move on to the next question. Summer, okay, Summer, you already have answered your question. Thank you for coming back. So a 10-month-old who is not yet crawling, I'm not too particularly worried about them. And like I said, standing and walking is about 11 to 12 months. So I would say just give the child time. I was asking whether is this child able to sit by himself, by her, is it herself? Is it a girl? Yeah, by herself. So yeah, this child is able to sit independently. That is fine. And from what you're saying now, some children actually bum shuffle. They don't crawl. They bum shuffle, and that is also normal. It's a form of crawling, but you crawl with your bum instead of crawling on your hands and feet. That is actually normal for a 10-month-old, and such children tend to walk a little bit later. So even when we say walking is a 18-month-old skill, for children who bum shuffle, we tend to say walking for them can be up to like 23 months before they walk, and we will not be worried about it as well. But if you're worried, you can come and see us about it. But I'm not particularly worried. Okay. Yeah, it's the same question. Okay, so you say your child takes clothes to the mouth. Would the child take like biscuits to the mouth, instead of the clothes? If you give the child like biscuits and all that, which we expect them to finger feed at 10 months old. So if you put something like biscuits or food or whatever in the child's hand, like a bimbo, like or something like that, would the child put it into their mouth? If the child is putting it into the mouth, that is normal as well. So it's nothing to worry about. I hope you are here and you've gotten the answer to that question. Yeah. What do you say? Yeah, she eats, she sits herself. Okay, she's sitting. Yeah, if she's sitting by herself, yeah, I'm not worried about that. I think she just give her a little bit more time for that age. And if the child is already bum shuffling, then that's fine. That's also normal as well. So I won't worry about that. Okay, I think no, she doesn't take biscuits to the mouth. Okay, so okay. Have you tried? Just try it again and say, because if the child is able to take the clothes to the mouth, then the child should be able to take a biscuit to the mouth. It's finger feeding. That's a normal milestone. But again, like I always say, sometimes some milestones are achieved at a certain age, but we still give the children a little bit of time. So if a child is supposed to achieve a milestone at 10 months and the child has not yet done it at 10 months, I'm not particularly, I'm still going to give the child a little bit of time to see whether it's just a little bit late and then the child will catch up. So for this child now, I won't be worried so much, but I think I'll worry about it maybe by the time she's 15 months, 18 months, and she's not yet finger feeding. Then that is when I'll worry about it. So I would just say give the child a little bit more time and then get the pediatrician to see her when she's much, yeah. When you give her, she will play with it and throw it away. Okay, maybe she doesn't know it is something that she can put in her mouth. You can put a little bit of it in her mouth first so that she knows that is food. And hopefully when she realizes food, then she can begin to put it in her mouth. Sometimes she doesn't know, she may just think it's another toy. So you can break a little bit of the crumbs and put it in her mouth. If you feed her, is she eating it by herself? So after a while, but it's okay for children to play with food. I know parents don't like the mess, but it's okay for them to play to make a mess because that's how they learn. We want them to actually do that food play and messy play and throw away the food, and it's fine if they like, and then they'll pick it up again, it's fine, because that is how they learn, and after a while they will not do that. Okay, all right, okay, so you are getting somewhere. When I say you're worried because she didn't cry, okay, if your child is already a child who has some risk factors, the fact that the child didn't cry at birth, I understand why you're so worried. But from what you've told me so far, I am not worried about your child's development. I think your child's development seem to be okay for me, unless if the child is not using their hands at all. Because what we are worried about in a child who didn't cry at birth is whether they may have cerebral palsy or global developmental delay. But from what you've told me so far, the child is sitting, is already trying to butt shuffle, is putting clothes to her mouth. It's not as if she's not using the hands, she's throwing things. That sounds normal to me. That doesn't sound like a child who is developing cerebral palsy. For children who are going to develop cerebral palsy, they won't actually use their hands or use only one hand and not use the other hand. They won't be sitting. They will be much more delayed than that. But it's good that you are concerned, because obviously I'm sure your doctors have told you that we're worried that some of these problems can happen. So because of that, it's good that you are seeing a pediatrician once in a while so that they can monitor the baby for you. But I personally am not worried so much about the baby right now. But I'm happy for you to keep seeing any of my colleagues from time to time. I would just say when your child is 1 year old, you can go see them for a follow-up, just for them to check again. But I'm not particularly worried. From what you've told me so far, I'm not worried at all. Okay. Did you say, Dr. McClure, can you share a hospital where I can get a pediatric neurologist? Yes, there are pediatric neurologists in Lutz, in Lasuth. Okay, you said private. Is it private hospital you want? Okay, okay. Say hospital. Hospital Lutz is there. Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Lagos University Teaching Hospital. They have. I'm not sure whether they have at FMC, but I'm sure of Lutz and Lasuth. You will see pediatric neurologists there. Yeah, if you want to go private, it can be up to that 60K. It's expensive to see a neurologist. Yeah. So yeah, but they will get them for you if you go private. So I can't see the rest of your okay. Oh, sorry, okay. Okay, just say 60,000 and more. Okay, I thought more is more information. Yeah, it is that expensive. But if you don't want to pay that much, you can go to any of the teaching hospitals. I know that Lutz clinic is on Mondays. Pediatric neurology clinic is on Mondays at Lutz. I'm not sure when that of Lasuth is, but any of them will see you. Of course, you know you're going to queue and wait, but that is what you're going to save by seeing people privately. But if you go to the government hospital, you'll be seen as well. I'm not sure about other. I know of Lutz and Lasuth. I'm not sure of other places, so I won't be able to answer that. What do you mean about in Ibadan too? I'm not sure I understand the Ibadan. Are you asking where you can also see a pediatric neurologist or pediatrician somewhere? If it is that, then you can go to UCH. UCH, there are lots of lovely pediatric neurologists in UCH as well. So most of the specialists will always be at the teaching hospital. Even if you want to see them privately, you can now request for their private care, but most of them you can always see them first in the teaching hospital. Yeah, okay, yeah. UCH has a lot of lovely. They have a very fantastic pediatric neurology units in the department. All right. Okay, sorry for the break today. I don't know what happened between Facebook and StreamYard, so they cut us off on the first video, but I'm happy some of you still managed to find your way. Okay, the appointment is too far. Oh, sorry about that. But your baby is doing well. I'm not worried. So just get the appointment, and then when it is time, they will see your child. If there's something urgent, then I would have said go and see private. But if there's nothing urgent, from what you've told me so far, there's nothing urgent. So, but it's still good that you see them just so that they can examine your baby and reassure you. But I'm not particularly worried. So if I'm not worried, I'll say you don't need to rush. Get the appointment, whether it's 3 months or 6 months, it doesn't matter. Just be on the queue, and then they will eventually see your baby. It's fine. You don't have to worry about that. It's okay. All right. Our time is up. I need to go, but before I go, I saw a video today. I don't know how many people have seen it, but I think it has been pulled down. But I just felt that because of people that may have seen the video before it got pulled down, about a video by one of us who is a doctor who is saying that you should not use methylated spirit for the baby's cord care, or because unfortunately wrong information tends to go viral quickly. Please, cord care in Nigeria. So when it comes to cord care, Okay, before I start, let me start by saying for any information anybody gives you, always ask them for the references. It doesn't matter who they are. Always, if you ask me for mine, I will also tell you. I can. That's why for us, we always giving you links. We say go and read more here, go and read more there. Because medicine is practiced all over the world, so it's something we all do. So we all have references, and when you are not sure, there are places you can always go to. You can go to World Health Organization website, WHO website, UNICEF. At least those organizations, these are like the top of all of us when it comes to health issues. So if you get World Health Organization, WHO website, you can always search for those kind of information. Or if you go to UNICEF, you can always say, as far as children concerns anyway. So when it comes to cord care, there's a difference between how we do our cord care in the developing world, in places like Nigeria, and in places that are not, that our environment is different, like the places like UK, with temperate weather and all that. Okay, so for us who live in humid areas in Nigeria, in sub-Saharan Africa, where our temperature is quite high and all that, we don't do cord care with water. We don't do cord care just leaving the cord alone. That is not how we do it. Your child is going to get cord infection, and it's going to be serious. So for us, there are two options. You use what we call chlorhexidine gel. Chlorhexidine gel will be applied at the hospital for you before you even leave, and then they will give you a supply for 7 days. So every morning after bathing your baby, you apply the chlorhexidine gel. It's just once a day, and that is how you keep the cord clean. And you don't cover the cord with the nappies. You put the nappy below the level of the cord until the cord completely heals and falls off, and that is what you do. You don't need to apply toothpaste, you don't need to apply powder, you don't need to apply nothing. Okay, now if you don't have the chlorhexidine gel, some people don't have it, or the hospital you are using is not having it, you can use methylated spirit, because that's actually my point. Somebody was posting that you should never clean your baby's cord with methylated spirit. That information is not correct. It is misinformation. I think the video has been pulled down, which is quite good, but just in case people have seen it before, don't go spread that information to anybody. Please, you can clean your baby's cord with methylated spirit every 4 hours and keep it dry. Okay, and until it is completely healed and fall off. Okay, so cord care is very important in newborn babies. Umbilical sepsis, if that cord gets infected, it spread very fast into the blood of the baby, cause what we call neonatal sepsis, and can cause death of a baby. So these are very important information. These are things we don't joke around with. Okay, so chlorhexidine gel once daily for 7 days, or methylated spirit every 4 hours. This is something we've been using for years, and it has not caused anybody irritation of anything. It is the appropriate way to clean the cord until it heals and or fall off. And some babies cord fall off within 7 days. Sometimes it may take up to a month for some babies. So that is why. So please, let's be very mindful of any information. And before you share it, please, if you hear anything online, always verify information. We're in the age of lots of information online, but unfortunately also lots of misinformation. So before you take any information to run with, ask yourself, who is giving me this information? On what authority, is that person giving me information? And can I go verify it for myself? When it comes to children, we don't do democracy. We don't do, oh, this person said, we're talking about lives here. We're talking about people dying. A lot of our children are still dying in the newborn period. We don't want more children dying because of misinformation. So please do appropriate cord care, and don't use toothpaste, powder, anything on the cord. Only chlorhexidine gel or methylated spirit. This is what the World Health Organization recommend. You can go and verify that. Somebody said, which toothpaste can I use for my 5-year-old? You can use any toothpaste. You can use any toothpaste. Just make sure the quantity you put on the toothpaste, on the brush, is very small. For a 5-year-old, it should be a pea size. Just use a small quantity. If you are using the right quantity, it doesn't matter if they swallow it. The amount of fluoride they will take in is very little, so we're not worried about that. The most important thing is the quantity of the toothpaste, just a little bit, a pea size. I mean, if you look on our website or just check online, they tell you what is the appropriate quantity of toothpaste to put on the toothbrush for children. They will see a picture of what look like a pea. That is what we want for a 3-year-old. For children less than 3 years old, it should be a grain of rice size. So most of the toothpaste adverts unfortunately misinform us. They will put all this long long stretch of toothpaste. It's actually wrong. It should be a very tiny piece because children will swallow their toothpaste. It's not just even autistic, it's most children do it. So, but the most important thing is, as long as we are giving them that tiny bit on it, they will be fine. So I'm nothing to worry about. All right, so thank you so much. If you still have any questions about the health of your children, feel free to post on our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group. We're always there 24 hours, Monday to Saturdays, to answer your questions. Of course, if your child is very sick, please take them to the hospital. All right, don't come online. But if you just want to ask this kind of question, should I use this quantity of toothpaste? What should I do? This is this okay? Is this normal? Those kind of not urgent questions. I mean, we are happy to answer them for you or give you advice on what you can do, as I said. But if a child is very sick, having convulsion, not breathing, not drinking, you have to take them to hospital because some of them need emergency care, which unfortunately we won't be able to provide online. So thank you. Till I come your way again next week to another episode of ATP Live Monday. Have a wonderful evening. And it is bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.